Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Imagine signing a contract where the fine print says, "The moment you feel happy, you die and lose your soul forever." That is not a thought experiment. In Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a scholar makes that exact bargain with a demon named Mephistopheles. Published in two parts, in 1808 and 1832, Goethe spent nearly his entire life writing this. It opens with God and the devil literally betting on whether one man can be corrupted. The man is Heinrich Faust, and spoiler, he absolutely can. Faust has spent his entire life studying philosophy, medicine, theology, law. He knows everything scholars are supposed to know, and he feels nothing. Empty. Pointless. He is about to drink poison when church bells stop him. The next day, a black poodle follows him home, and the dog transforms into Mephistopheles. The demon offers him a deal. Real experience, real pleasure, everything that feels alive. The catch is this. If Faust ever reaches a moment so perfect he wishes it could last forever, he dies in that instant, and his soul belongs to Mephistopheles. Faust agrees. He does not think he will ever feel satisfied anyway. They go to a witch's kitchen. She brews a potion that makes Faust young again. The first person he sees after drinking it is a girl named Gretchen. He becomes obsessed. Mephistopheles manipulates everything to get them together. He gives her jewels and distracts her neighbors. Gretchen is modest, religious, innocent. She tries to resist, but eventually falls for him. Here is where it gets dark. To help them meet in secret, Faust gives Gretchen a sleeping potion for her mother. The potion kills her. Gretchen's brother finds out about the affair and confronts Faust. Mephistopheles provokes the fight. Faust stabs him. Valentine dies, cursing both of them in front of the entire neighborhood. Gretchen discovers she is pregnant. Faust, terrified of consequences, abandons her. She is publicly shamed, alone, and spiraling. After giving birth, in a moment of complete desperation, she kills the infant. The authorities arrest her and sentence her to death. Faust realizes what happened. He begs Mephistopheles to help him save her. They break into the dungeon. Faust pleads with Gretchen to run away with him, but she refuses. Her mind is shattered. She sees the demonic presence behind everything that happened. She turns to God instead. As Mephistopheles declares her condemned, a voice from above says she is saved. Faust is dragged away. Gretchen ascends. And his journey continues into even stranger philosophical territory in Part 2. This is not about demons. It is about ambition without boundaries. Faust did not lose his soul because he made a deal. He lost it the moment he stopped caring about consequences. Gretchen paid the price for his curiosity. The real horror is not Mephistopheles. It is that Faust knew exactly what he was doing and did it anyway. Because in Faust, damnation is not a lightning bolt from hell. It is the slow realization that you destroyed everyone who loved you, and you cannot even remember why. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If your father abandoned you at birth because you were ugly, and your existence caused everyone around you to die, you would probably have some serious issues too. In Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, that is not a metaphor. That is the plot. Mary Shelley wrote this in 1818 when she was just 18 years old, during a ghost story competition with Lord Byron. She created what many consider the first science fiction novel. And it is not really about a mad scientist. It is about parental abandonment and what happens when you create life and then walk away from it. Victor Frankenstein grows up in Geneva with a loving family. He has Elizabeth, an adopted sister he adores, and Henry Clerval, his best friend. Everything is perfect until Victor becomes obsessed with one question: what is the secret of life? At university, he studies anatomy and chemistry. He collects bones from graveyards. He works alone at night for months. He becomes so consumed he stops eating, sleeping, and writing home. And then he succeeds. He animates a corpse. The creature opens its eyes. Victor feels pure horror. The being is 8 feet tall, stitched together, yellow-eyed, skin barely covering muscle. Victor expected triumph. Instead, he runs. He abandons the creature the moment it wakes up. Victor gets sick. Henry nurses him back to health. For a while, everything seems fine. Then Victor receives a letter. His youngest brother William has been murdered. Victor rushes home. On the way, he sees his creation in the distance, and he knows. The creature killed William. A family servant named Justine is blamed. Evidence is planted on her. She is pressured into confessing. She is executed. Victor knows the truth. He cannot tell anyone. No one would believe him. Eventually, Victor encounters the creature face to face. The creature speaks, clearly and intelligently. He tells Victor what happened after being abandoned. He wandered alone, confused. Every person who saw him attacked or fled. He hid near a cottage and watched a family for months. He learned language by listening. He learned kindness by observing them. He wanted so badly to be part of something. When he finally revealed himself, they beat him and drove him away. He found Victor's journal describing the experiment. He realized he had been created as a thing, not a person. Heartbroken and enraged, he encountered a young boy. He hoped a child might not judge him. The boy screamed, insulted him, and revealed his last name, Frankenstein. The creature strangled him. Then he framed Justine. He tells Victor he wants one thing, a companion, a female creature who will not reject him. Victor reluctantly agrees. Victor travels to Scotland to build the second creature. But as he works, he imagines the horror. What if they reproduce? What if she rejects him anyway? Overcome with fear, he destroys her while the creature watches through the window. The creature swears revenge. He tells Victor, "I will be with you on your wedding night." Victor returns home and marries Elizabeth. He thinks the creature means to kill him. He is wrong. While Victor searches the house for threats, the creature murders Elizabeth in their bedroom. Victor's father dies from grief. Victor dedicates his life to hunting the creature. He chases him to the Arctic. He is rescued by a ship captain named Walton and tells him the entire story. Then Victor dies. The creature appears one final time. He tells Walton that he hated what he became, that he never wanted to be a monster. Then he disappears into the frozen darkness, saying he will build his own funeral pyre. This is not about science gone wrong. It is about what happens when you create life and refuse responsibility. Every death in this book traces back to Victor's original sin, abandonment. The creature did not ask to be made. He asked to be loved. When that was denied, he became what everyone feared he was. The genius of Frankenstein is that the real monster never had yellow eyes. He had a laboratory and a choice. Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. What if your therapist told you they created a potion that lets them be evil without consequences, and they have been taking it every night for months? In Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, that is exactly what happens. Published in 1886, Stevenson wrote this novella in 3 days during a fever dream. It became an instant sensation in Victorian England because it said the quiet part loud, everyone has a dark side they are desperate to hide. The story follows Gabriel John Utterson, a lawyer investigating a disturbing connection. His friend Dr. Henry Jekyll has written a will leaving everything to a man named Edward Hyde, a man Utterson has never met. Then Utterson's colleague describes seeing Hyde trample a little girl in the street. Hyde paid the family off with a check signed by Jekyll. This makes no sense. Jekyll is respected, kind, admired. Hyde is instantly hated by everyone who sees him. They can never explain why. He just feels wrong. Things escalate when a member of parliament is beaten to death in the street. A witness identifies the killer as Edward Hyde. The police search his rooms. He has vanished. For a while, Jekyll seems normal. Then he locks himself in his laboratory and refuses to come out. His servants hear a strange voice inside begging for chemicals. They panic and call Utterson. They believe Jekyll has been murdered and someone else is in his laboratory. They break down the door. Lying on the floor is Edward Hyde's body. He is dead from poison. Next to him is a sealed confession addressed to Utterson. Jekyll explains everything. He believed every human has two natures, one good, one evil. He wanted to separate them. Through chemistry, he created a potion that split his personality. The respectable side remained Dr. Henry Jekyll. The evil side emerged as Edward Hyde. As Hyde, Jekyll felt complete freedom. No guilt, no shame, no consequences. He enjoyed it, but Hyde grew stronger with each transformation. The changes became involuntary. Jekyll would transform without warning. The potion stopped working. Hyde became the default. Jekyll became the mask. In the end, Jekyll wrote his confession knowing it was the last time he would exist. He took poison as Hyde, and that is how Utterson found him. This is not about split personalities. It is about the lie we tell ourselves that we can compartmentalize evil. Jekyll thought he could indulge his worst impulses without them touching his real life. But there is no separation. Hyde did not corrupt Jekyll. Jekyll created Hyde. The monster was always him. Because in Jekyll and Hyde, the real horror is not transformation. It is realizing you always had the choice, and you chose wrong. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Imagine staying forever young while a painting in your attic ages and rots, showing every cruel thing you have ever done written across its face like a moral police sketch. In The Picture of Dorian Gray, that is not a metaphor, that is a curse. Published in 1890, the novel was so scandalous that it was used as evidence against Wilde in his trial. Victorian society was horrified by its themes of hedonism and moral decay. Wilde defended it by saying all art is immoral. Society disagreed. The story opens in the studio of Basil Hallward, an artist who has found his muse in Dorian Gray. While Basil paints, his friend Lord Henry Wotton stops by. Henry tells Dorian that youth and beauty fade, and the smartest thing a man can do is enjoy every pleasure while he still can. This idea hits Dorian harder than it should. When he sees the finished portrait, he feels cheated by time. The painting will stay young forever while he ages. In frustration, he wishes the portrait would age instead of him. He does not expect magic, but something hears him. Dorian falls in love with an actress named Sybil Vane. She is perfect on stage, but when her feelings for him deepen, her acting falls apart. She becomes too emotional. One night, she gives a terrible performance. Dorian, embarrassed, breaks off their engagement without kindness. Sybil dies that night. When Dorian returns home, he notices the first change in the portrait. The mouth looks cruel. From there, the gap widens. Outwardly, Dorian remains beautiful and ageless. The painting absorbs every sin. As years pass, London whispers about him. Respectable people avoid him. Houses he visits become tainted by association. Basil confronts him, hoping the rumors are not true. In a moment of rage, Dorian shows him the portrait. Basil is horrified. He begs Dorian to repent. Instead, Dorian stabs him to death. The portrait becomes grotesque, twisted, aged, evil. Dorian tries to drown himself in distractions, but nothing works anymore. He cannot escape what he has become. In the end, he tries to destroy the painting, thinking it might free him. When servants break into the locked room, they find the portrait restored to the beautiful young Dorian. Beside it lies an old, withered corpse. They only recognize it by the rings on its fingers. This is not about vanity. It is about consequence. Dorian did not just want to stay young. He wanted to live without accountability. The portrait is the truth he tried to hide. Every life he ruined, every person he hurt, every choice he refused to own, the painting forced him to look at who he really was. And when he finally did, he could not survive it. Because in The Picture of Dorian Gray, eternal youth is not a gift. It is a sentence, and the judge is always watching from the attic. The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. If your stalker lived inside the walls, controlled the lighting, wrote you threatening letters, occasionally murdered people, and genuinely believed you would fall in love with him if he just kept trying, you would probably move theaters. Christine Daae does not get that option. First published in 1910, Leroux wrote this as a mystery novel set in the real Paris Opera House. The building actually has an underground lake, secret passages, and 17 floors. Leroux took those facts and asked, what if someone lived down there? Christine Daae is a young soprano at the Paris Opera. She is decent but unremarkable. Then, suddenly, overnight, she becomes extraordinary. People whisper. How did she improve so fast? Christine believes she is being taught by the angel of music, a figure her father told her about before he died. She hears a voice in her dressing room teaching her, guiding her. She thinks it is supernatural. Her childhood friend Raoul returns and falls in love with her all over again. But Christine avoids him. She begs him to leave. He hears her speaking to someone inside her locked dressing room even though it is empty. The voice is not an angel. It is Eric, a man who lives in the hidden tunnels beneath the opera house. He's a genius architect and musician who helped design the building. He knows every secret passage. He has been speaking to Christine through walls and mirrors. Eric is also disfigured. His face is skeletal, death-like. He has been rejected his entire life. He wears a mask and calls himself the opera ghost. He has been watching Christine for months. He is obsessed with her. One night, Christine disappears from a locked room during a performance. She wakes up in a boat on the underground lake. Eric rows her to his home beneath the opera house. He finally reveals himself. He removes his mask. Christine is horrified. Eric tells her his story. He was born with deformities. His family rejected him. He survived by building torture chambers for powerful men in Persia. Eventually, he fled to Paris and hid in the opera house. He has lived there ever since. He wants Christine to love him. He begs for affection like someone who has never felt kindness. But he is also dangerous. He is not just lonely. He is possessive. Christine promises to stay away from Raoul. She lies. Eric discovers their plan to run away together. He becomes enraged. He sends threats to the opera managers. When they ignore him, he drops the massive chandelier into the audience. A woman dies. During Christine's next performance, Eric pulls a lever. She disappears through a trapdoor. Raoul chases after her with help from a man called the Persian, who knows Eric's entire history. Eric traps them in a torture chamber that uses heat and mirrors. They nearly die hallucinating. Meanwhile, Eric tells Christine she must marry him, or he will kill Raoul, the Persian, and blow up the entire opera house. He has planted explosives under the building. He is serious. Christine breaks down. In a final moment, she goes to Eric and kisses him. It is the first time anyone has touched him without fear or disgust. The gesture destroys him. He releases everyone. He lets Christine go. He tells her to leave with Raoul and asks her to bury him quietly when he dies. Christine and Raoul disappear together. Eric dies alone in his underground home. This is not about Beauty and the Beast. It is about the difference between loneliness and entitlement. Eric did not want connection. He wanted ownership. Christine's pity was real, but Eric mistook it for love. The tragedy is that he was capable of greatness, but his obsession turned him into exactly what he feared people saw, a monster. Because in The Phantom of the Opera, the real terror is not the mask. It is the man who thinks isolation justifies control. Dracula, by Bram Stoker. Imagine your Airbnb host locks you inside, does not have a reflection, and you slowly realize you are not a guest. You are groceries. Published in 1897, Dracula is an epistolary novel told through diary entries, letters, and newspaper clippings. Stoker researched European folklore for years and created the definitive vampire story that shaped the genre for over a century. Jonathan Harker, an English solicitor, travels to Transylvania to help Count Dracula purchase property in London. From the moment he arrives, locals give him crucifixes as if they know something he does not. His coach driver refuses to take him all the way to the castle. Dracula seems like an eccentric old nobleman at first, but Jonathan notices strange things. Dracula never eats. He never appears during the day. He has no reflection. All the doors are locked from the outside. Jonathan is not a guest. He is a prisoner. He watches Dracula crawl down the castle wall like a lizard. He discovers 3 female vampires who try to feed on him. Dracula stops them, saying Jonathan belongs to him. Jonathan understands he is being kept alive as food until Dracula leaves for England. Dracula travels to London by ship. The crew is found dead. Dracula arrives in the city and begins hunting. His first major victim is Lucy Westenra, a friend of Jonathan's fiancée Mina. Lucy begins sleepwalking and growing weak. Her friends call in Dr. Van Helsing, who recognizes the signs of vampirism. They try to save Lucy with blood transfusions and garlic, But Dracula keeps returning. Eventually, Lucy dies and becomes a vampire. She begins to prey on children. Van Helsing leads her fiancé Arthur to her tomb. Arthur drives a stake through her heart, and they cut off her head. Meanwhile, Jonathan escapes the castle and returns to England. He marries Mina. They join Van Helsing and others to hunt Dracula. But Dracula strikes back. He attacks Mina, drinking her blood and forcing her to drink his. This creates a psychic connection between them. The group uses that connection to track Dracula. They chase him across Europe and back to Transylvania. In a final confrontation, they corner his coffin as the sun sets. Jonathan slashes Dracula's throat while another member of the group stabs him in the heart. Dracula crumbles to dust. Mina is freed from the curse. The novel ends with a note years later saying they returned to Transylvania with their son, and the castle is now ruins. This is not really about vampires. It is about invasion. Dracula stands for foreign corruption entering Victorian England and threatening its moral purity. It is also about desire. Every victim invited Dracula in somehow, whether through curiosity, vulnerability, or forbidden attraction. The horror is that the monster does not break down your door. You open it. In Dracula, the real terror is not immortality. It is realizing the thing you feared most is already inside. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Imagine throwing a massive party every single weekend for 5 years straight, inviting hundreds of strangers, and all of it is for one person who lives across the water. And she never comes. In The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald, Jay Gatsby built his entire life around a woman who married someone else. Published in 1925, The Great Gatsby is set during the Jazz Age on Long Island. Fitzgerald wrote it as a critique of the American dream, showing how wealth, obsession, and class destroy everything they touch. Nick Carraway moves to Long Island and rents a small house next to a massive mansion owned by Jay Gatsby. Gatsby throws legendary parties every weekend. Hundreds of people show up. Nobody knows who he really is. They say he is a German spy, a murderer, a bootlegger. Nobody knows the truth. Nick's cousin Daisy lives across the bay in East Egg with her husband Tom Buchanan. Tom is old money, arrogant, and openly cheating on Daisy with a woman named Myrtle Wilson. Eventually, Nick meets Gatsby, and Gatsby tells him the truth. His real name is James Gatz. He grew up poor in North Dakota. He reinvented himself and made a fortune during Prohibition. But all of it, the mansion, the money, the parties, was for one goal, Daisy. Gatsby met Daisy 5 years earlier when he was a young officer. They fell in love, but he did not have money. While he was at war, Daisy married Tom. Gatsby never moved on. He bought the house directly across the bay so he could see her docklight every night. Nick arranges for Gatsby and Daisy to reunite. At first, it is awkward. Then it becomes magical. Daisy seems to fall back in love. Gatsby believes he can erase the past 5 years and start over. But Tom notices. During a confrontation at a hotel, Gatsby tells Tom that Daisy never loved him. Daisy cannot say it. She loved Gatsby once, but she also loved Tom. Gatsby's perfect dream cracks. On the drive home, Daisy is behind the wheel of Gatsby's car. She accidentally hits Myrtle Wilson, killing her instantly. Daisy panics. Gatsby decides to take the blame. Tom tells Myrtle's husband George that Gatsby's car killed her. George, grief-stricken and deceived, shoots Gatsby in his pool. Then George kills himself. When Gatsby dies, nobody comes to the funeral. Not the party guests, not the socialites, not the people who told stories about him every weekend. Only Nick, Gatsby's father, and a few servants attend. The novel ends with Nick reflecting on Gatsby's dream. Gatsby believed in the green light, in the idea that you could repeat the past, that wealth and willpower could rewrite history. But you cannot. The past is always behind you, and no amount of money changes that. This is not about love. It is about delusion. Gatsby did not love Daisy as she was. He loved the idea of her, the symbol of everything he thought success would bring him. The tragedy is not that he died. The tragedy is that he spent his whole life chasing a ghost while surrounded by people who never saw him as human. Everyone loved Gatsby's parties. Nobody loved Gatsby. Because in The Great Gatsby, the real darkness is not murder or betrayal. It is building your entire existence around a dream that was never real and dying the moment you realize it. If you liked these dark and disturbing books, watch this video for more books like these. Subscribe for more videos like this.